finally revealed. The shocking truth about Chad Curtis that teammates tried to warn us about years ago. At 56, the former Yankees outfielder's dark story has fully unfolded, and it all started with a clubhouse fight that sent him to the disabled list. What happened between Curtis and Kevin Mitchell over a rap song would predict everything that came after. Chad Curtis wasn't your typical baseball player. Over 10 seasons, from 1992 to 2001, he bounced between 6 different teams, hitting 101 home runs and stealing 212 bases. His stats were decent, but Curtis became known for something else entirely: his behavior. From day one, Curtis presented himself as a moral compass in baseball. He called himself a Bible-believing Christian and wasn't shy about it. When HBO's Real Sports challenged players to take steroid tests, only 2 players agreed. Curtis was one of them, and he tested clean. This early moment helped build his reputation as a man of integrity. His teammate Gabe Kapler remembered Curtis as genuinely kind and someone who showed true care and warmth. Curtis approached batting practice with serious focus, appearing under control and unemotional. Everything seemed to point toward a player who lived by strong principles. But there was another side to Curtis that would eventually overshadow everything else. His strong religious beliefs came with an aggressive edge that created problems wherever he went. Curtis didn't just believe in his faith, he imposed it on everyone around him. His aggressive proselytizing became a defining characteristic that teammates dreaded. He would chastise players for missing chapel, listening to explicit rap music, and watching certain TV shows like The Jerry Springer Show. The most shocking example involved his Jewish teammate Gabe Kapler. Curtis explicitly told Kapler that he was going to hell if he didn't believe that Jesus Christ was his Lord and Savior. This wasn't a private conversation. Curtis made these statements openly and repeatedly. Kapler later admitted that Curtis's constant preaching could be irritating and that teammates generally despised his pushiness. Even in a sport where religious expression was common, Curtis crossed lines that made everyone uncomfortable. His moral framework wasn't just personal. It became a weapon he used to judge and control others. This pattern of behavior would escalate into physical confrontations that shocked the baseball world. The Kevin Mitchell incident in May 1997 revealed Curtis's true nature. While playing for the Cleveland Indians, Curtis objected to the lyrics of a rap song that teammate Kevin Mitchell was playing in the clubhouse. Instead of asking politely or walking away, Curtis immediately shut off the stereo. Mitchell wasn't having it. The confrontation exploded into a full physical fight, with both players throwing punches. Mitchell reportedly threw Curtis over a ping-pong table, leaving Curtis with a bruised right thumb that landed him on the 15-day disabled list. The Indians released Mitchell shortly after. This wasn't an isolated incident. In April 2000, while playing for the Texas Rangers, Curtis nearly came to blows with Royce Clayton over the same issue: rap music in the clubhouse weight room. Curtis insisted on turning off the music, citing his objection to the lyrics. Clayton went public with his frustration, saying Curtis had too much self-pride and did not respect others in the clubhouse. Clayton suggested that team chemistry had declined since Curtis arrived. The pattern was clear. Curtis's moral convictions led to physical confrontations when others didn't comply with his standards. Curtis's problems extended beyond teammate disputes. He consistently clashed with coaches and management, earning a reputation as someone who couldn't be managed. Hall of Fame batting instructor Rod Carew called Curtis selfish and uncoachable after their 1994 argument. When a respected figure like Carew makes such a public statement, it speaks volumes about Curtis's attitude toward instruction and authority. Curtis also had a heated shouting match with general manager Bill Bavasi over his contract during the 1994 offseason. The dispute remained unresolved when the 1995 season began, showing Curtis's willingness to fight management over business matters. The most famous confrontation involved Derek Jeter during Curtis's time with the Yankees. When a brawl broke out between the Yankees and Seattle Mariners, Curtis became upset that Jeter was fraternizing with Mariners shortstop Alex Rodriguez instead of being aggressive. Curtis publicly scolded Jeter in front of teammates and reporters both near the dugout and at Jeter's locker. Curtis told Jeter that while he was a good player, he did not know how to play the game in that situation. Even worse, Curtis persistently solicited Jeter to attend chapel after Jeter had already declined. This public humiliation of one of baseball's most respected players crossed every line imaginable. And while Curtis was making headlines for the wrong reasons, you can stay focused on what matters, like never missing a game with Fubo. Get access to live sports and all your favorite teams without the drama. A Yankees official later said Curtis's preacher persona had ran its course and gotten tired, directly linking his behavior to his eventual trade from the team. His moral crusade was destroying his career. After retiring in 2001, Curtis pursued education to become a teacher. He returned to Michigan, working as a volunteer weight room trainer and substitute teacher at Lakewood schools. He was even set to become the head football coach. But Curtis's behavioral patterns followed him into his new career. In 2009, he was removed from his position as athletic director at North Point due to disagreements with the superintendent. Curtis claimed he was treated dishonestly and unfairly labeled as unethical. The most devastating revelation came in May 2012, when Curtis resigned from Lakewood Public Schools after several students accused him of inappropriate touching. By August 2012, he faced 6 counts of criminal sexual conduct. Curtis's trial began on August 12, 2013. 3 victims and 2 other individuals, all underage girls between 13 and 16 years old, testified against him. The testimony revealed that Curtis offered massages specifically to female athletes, but not to boys. On August 16, 2013, Curtis was found guilty on all 6 counts, including third-degree criminal sexual conduct involving sexual penetration. The man who had spent years preaching morality to his teammates was now a convicted sex offender. During sentencing, Curtis delivered an hour-long address that shocked everyone present. He accused all his victims of lying and claimed that they made unwelcome sexual advances to him. Instead of showing remorse, Curtis blamed the children he had victimized. Barry County prosecutor Julie Nakfor Pratt called it the most selfish, self-serving, victim-blaming statement I've heard in my career as a prosecutor. It speaks volumes about his character, or lack thereof. On October 3, 2013, Curtis was sentenced to 7 to 15 years in prison. His convictions were upheld by the Michigan Appeals Court in February 2015. A federal civil lawsuit found Curtis liable for battery against 4 girls, including the 3 from the criminal case. There were also allegations that he and his ex-wife attempted to hide assets. Gabe Kapler, who initially saw Curtis as genuinely kind, later expressed profound dismay. He said he was floored and had misjudged the character of a man so horribly. Kapler reflected that he felt blinded with the mantle of righteous moral authority he always tried to wear. The contrast between Curtis's public persona and his criminal convictions reveals a profound truth about human nature. His intense moral preaching may have functioned as a protective shield, allowing him to operate without suspicion while masking deeper, more troubling inclinations. Curtis's story serves as a cautionary tale about the dangerous potential for abuse when someone uses moral authority as camouflage. His selfish, self-serving, victim-blaming statement at sentencing was consistent with his earlier pattern of never accepting responsibility for his actions. From clubhouse disputes to criminal convictions, Curtis demonstrated a rigid personality that couldn't adapt to different social environments. His inability to respect boundaries, combined with his need to control others through moral judgment, created a trajectory that led from baseball conflicts to criminal behavior. The man who once chastised teammates for their music choices and told Jewish players they were going to hell ultimately became everything he claimed to stand against. His legacy is complex and deeply troubling, a reminder that public displays of morality don't always reflect genuine character. What do you think about Curtis's contradictions? How did someone who presented himself as morally superior end up committing such serious crimes? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, And don't forget to subscribe for more untold stories from the world.
At 77, Ron Cey is finally setting the record straight about rumors that his career was somehow wasted. The legendary Los Angeles Dodgers third baseman known as the Penguin has heard whispers for decades, but the truth reveals a story of quiet excellence that statistics prove was anything but wasted. Born in Tacoma, Washington, Ron Cey was a standout athlete from day one. He became the first person from Mount Tahoma High School to earn 9 varsity letters across multiple sports. This early dedication and durability would become his trademark throughout his professional career. When the New York Mets drafted him in 1966, Cey made a smart choice. He turned them down to attend Washington State University, where he showcased his potential by batting an impressive .362 with 8 home runs in his lone varsity season in 1968. The Los Angeles Dodgers selected Cey in their 1968 draft class, which is considered among the best in baseball history. This same draft brought future teammates Steve Garvey and Davey Lopes to the organization. Cey's journey through the minor leagues was marked by impressive offensive production. His dominant 1971 season with AAA Spokane, where he hit .328 with 32 home runs and 123 RBIs, earned him his first major league call-up. The origin of his famous nickname, the Penguin, has been misunderstood for years. While many people believe Tommy Lasorda gave him the name, Cey himself has clarified the truth multiple times. His college coach, Chuck Bobo Brayton, first called him the Penguin because of his slow, waddling running style. Lasorda later adopted the nickname and popularized it during Cey's minor league days. With typical humor, Cey has noted that Lasorda started taking credit for it, and that he had to tell him, "You're not the originator." Speaking of legendary moments, what's your most memorable Ron Cey moment from the 1981 World Series? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe.
Provided invaluable stability for managers Walter Alston and Tommy Lasorda throughout an entire decade. The chemistry between these 4 players went beyond mere statistics. They developed an almost telepathic understanding of each other's tendencies, creating defensive plays that seemed impossible to outside observers. Cey's role as the anchor at third base was crucial to this success. His steady presence allowed the more mobile Lopez and Russell to take calculated risks, knowing Cey would be exactly where he needed to be for any throw coming his way. While Steve Garvey often received the most public attention as the golden boy of the group, modern analytics reveal a different story. Traditional statistics like batting average and total hits favored Garvey, leading many fans to view him as the group's best player. However, advanced metrics paint a clearer picture that places Cey as arguably the most impactful member of the infield. The numbers tell the real story. Cey's career WAR totaled 53.7, compared to Davey Lopez at 42.3, Steve Garvey at 38.1, and Bill Russell at 31.3. This disparity comes from the defensive value of their positions and their offensive profiles. Garvey was moved to first base because he had been a poor defensive third baseman, even posing risks to fans with errant throws. Cey, by contrast, played the demanding hot corner and was consistently a steady, accurate fielder. The third base position requires split-second reactions and pinpoint accuracy on throws across the diamond. Cey mastered these fundamentals through countless hours of practice and an almost obsessive attention to detail. His approach to the position was methodical rather than flashy, but it proved incredibly effective over time. Opposing hitters learned to respect his positioning and anticipation, often altering their approach when facing the Dodgers. Cey's offensive approach demonstrated superior patience and plate discipline. His career on-base percentage of .354 compared favorably to Garvey's .337. His slightly high confrontation. The entire baseball world was watching as these 2 storied franchises met on the sport's biggest stage. Game 5 provided the series' most harrowing moment. With the series tied at 2 games each, Cey was struck in the head by a Goose Gossage fastball. The impact was so severe that his wife feared he had been killed. Cey had to be helped off the field, a stark moment of vulnerability for a player known for durability and consistent play. The stadium fell silent as medical
personnel attended to him, and even the normally raucous Yankee Stadium crowd showed genuine concern for his welfare. The narrative of his heroic return for Game 6 is well known, but a critical detail often gets overlooked. The sixth game was delayed by a day due to a rainout. Without this extra day of rest, there's a strong possibility that Cey, having suffered a concussion, would have been unable to return to the lineup. His presence in the final game wasn't just about toughness, but also a fortunate, unforeseen circumstance. This confluence of grit and lucky timing allowed him to step back onto the field and contribute to the Dodgers' victory. His leadership and performance throughout the series, including a 3-run home run in a critical Game 3 victory, earned him a share of the World Series MVP award, alongside teammates Steve Yeager and Pedro Guerrero. He also received the annual Babe Ruth Award for the most outstanding postseason performer. Ron Cey's 17-season career, from 1971 to 1987, produced impressive statistics that cement his status as one of the best third basemen of his generation. His comprehensive totals include a .261 batting average, 316 home runs, and 1,139 RBIs over 2,073 games. He finished in the top 25 in National League MVP voting 5 times, with his highest finish being 8th in 1977 when he set career highs with 30 home runs and 110 RBIs. While his offensive power and ability to draw walks were primary strength, athletics. Since retirement, Cey has maintained close ties with the game and the Dodgers organization. He continues making appearances on the team's behalf and remains integral to their history. His enduring impact was recognized when he was inducted into the Legends of Dodger Baseball in 2025. Despite being 77 years old, he remains active, authoring a book titled Penguin Power, Dodger Blue, Hollywood Lights, and a 1-in-a-million big league journey, and launching a podcast. The career of Ron Cey represents quiet excellence rather than wasted potential. While the iconic Dodgers infield was often personified by charismatic Steve Garvey, data-driven analysis reveals that Cey was arguably the most valuable member of the quartet. His offensive production, marked by power and discipline, combined with steady defense at a demanding position, made him truly indispensable to the team's sustained success. At 77, Ron Cey's legacy stands as unwavering consistency, durability, and quiet competence that, while not always celebrated like his contemporaries, marks an indelible impact on baseball history. What do you think about Ron Cey's underrated legacy? Share your thoughts and subscribe for more deep dives into baseball's overlooked legends.
A former Texas Rangers pitcher facing charges in a suspected drunk driving crash, Matt Bush.
When talking about the biggest bust in sports history, the name Matt Bush came up quite frequently. His once promising career fell apart due to a series of bad decisions, alcohol abuse, and severe anger issues. And he never advanced beyond Double-A, complete failure, or an incredible redemption story. His life story is amazing nonetheless. Before we dive in any further, please don't forget to subscribe. From number 1 to felon, the journey was truly a shocking one. After being the number 1 overall pick for the Padres, Bush signed a contract that came with a hefty $315 million bonus. At just 18 years old, he suddenly had a lot of money, but not the maturity to handle it. While training in Arizona shortly after the draft, Bush's legal troubles began. The first sign of things going wrong was at a bar called McDuffie's, where his behavior started to unravel. Bush and his brother reportedly snuck into the bar through a back entrance, bypassing security. When staff realized he was underage, they asked him to leave. Instead of complying, Bush refused, and alongside his brother, ended up starting a fight with 2 of the bouncers. In the chaos, it was even said that Matt bit one of the bouncers on the arm. By the time things calmed down, Bush was cited for assault, trespassing, disorderly conduct, and underage drinking. This was not how anyone had pictured the beginning of his career. Not Bush, not his family, and certainly not the Padres, who had drafted him first overall with high hopes. Instead of focusing on baseball, he was already dealing with legal issues, setting a rocky tone for what should have been a promising start to his professional life. After returning to the field, Bush managed to play in 29 rookie league games, but his performance was far from what was expected of a top draft pick. He struggled at the plate, hitting just 192 and failing to hit any home runs. The following year, in 2005, he moved up to Single-A with the Fort Wayne Wizards, but his struggles continued. Over 453 at-bats, Bush hit only 221 and managed just 2 home runs. His power at the plate was nearly non-existent, with a slugging percentage of only 276, a disappointing number for someone with his potential. Things got even worse in 2006 when a broken ankle sidelined him for most of the season. He was limited to just 22 games, and any momentum he might have gained was lost. Injuries, along with his continued poor performance, began to raise serious questions about his future in the game. Bush had once been seen as a promising young talent, but now it seemed like everything was slipping away from him, both on and off the field. Besides his legal troubles, injuries halted his career. At this point, it seemed like Bush was shaping up to be a clear bust. His off-field issues had led to multiple arrests, and on the field, he wasn't living up to the hype. But despite all this, there was one thing that couldn't be denied. He still had an incredible arm. The Padres saw potential in that arm and decided to give him a shot at pitching, hoping a change in position might turn things around for him. In 2007, Bush got his first taste of life on the mound, and for a brief moment, it looked like the move might pay off. Over 7 appearances, he was electric. He struck out 16 batters in just 7.23 innings, boasting an impressive 1.17 ERA and walking only 2 hitters. His performances had fans and the team excited, thinking maybe he had finally found his niche as a pitcher. Unfortunately, just as things were starting to look up, disaster struck. Bush tore a ligament in his pitching arm, an injury that required Tommy John surgery. This was a major setback, sidelining him for the entire 2008 season. What could have been the beginning of a new chapter in his career was suddenly put on hold as he faced a long recovery ahead. The high school brawl then came to light, tarnishing his reputation heavily. During his recovery from Tommy John surgery, Bush found himself in trouble once again, this time off the field in another drunken incident. He was accused of assaulting members of a high school lacrosse team in a wild altercation. According to witnesses, Bush threw a golf club, picked up one of the players and tossed him, and then hit another player, all while shouting, "I'm Matt fucking Bush!" To make matters worse, after the altercation, Bush recklessly drove his Mercedes over a curb and sped away from the school campus. The incident caused a media frenzy, with articles circulating that labeled him as the worst #1 overall draft pick in baseball history. His once promising career had taken a nosedive, and this latest event was a breaking point for the Padres. They had invested a lot in him, but his continuous off-field problems made it impossible for them to keep him on the roster. The Padres finally gave up on Bush, trading him to the Toronto Blue Jays in exchange for future considerations, signaling how far he had fallen from the high hopes that once surrounded him. Violating the zero-tolerance policy caused him great trouble.
Baseball's a little easier for me because it's just what I'm gifted at. It's what I've been blessed, to be able to do.
When the Blue Jays acquired Bush, they immediately placed him on a strict zero-tolerance policy, fully aware of his troubled past. They sent him to Dunedin, Florida, where their spring training facility and rookie league team were located. However, much like his time with the Padres, Bush didn't even get the chance to throw a single pitch for the organization before finding himself in trouble off the field again. While attending a party, Bush passed out from drinking too much, and as a joke, someone drew markings on his face. When he woke up and saw what had happened, he flew into a fit of rage. He blamed a 23-year-old woman at the party for the prank and reacted violently. Bush threw a baseball just inches past her head in anger. As she tried to escape, he banged on her car window, terrifying her and others at the scene. The Blue Jays quickly learned about the incident and had no choice but to act. Given his zero-tolerance agreement, the team immediately released him for failing to comply with the guidelines set out for him. This marked another major setback for Bush, who missed the entire 2009 season as a result. It was now 2 full seasons that he had not played a single professional game, and his once promising career continued to spiral downward. Remarkably, despite all his past troubles, Bush managed to get yet another chance in 2010 when the Tampa Bay Rays signed him to a minor league deal. His talent was undeniable, especially his powerful arm, which kept teams interested even after everything he'd been through. That year, he appeared in just 10 games, splitting time between rookie league and high A ball. While his time on the mound was limited, he showed flashes of his potential, racking up an impressive 20 strikeouts in just 13 innings. By 2011, Bush was finally healthy and ready to make a stronger comeback. He played in 26 games for the Double-A Montgomery Biscuits and proved he still had serious strikeout ability, averaging 13.8 strikeouts per 9 innings. However, control issues continued to plague him, leading to a 4.83 ERA. While that ERA wasn't ideal, the Rays saw enough promise in his performances to believe he could still develop into a solid pitcher. Impressed by his raw talent and ability to strike batters out, the Rays added him to their 40-man roster, planning to send him to Triple-A to start the 2012 season. It was another fresh start for Bush, and the Rays were willing to take the risk, hopeful that he had finally turned a corner in his troubled career. Then came another drama, adding to his pile of troubles. Finally, when everything was going his way, he dived headfirst in trouble. In 2012, during spring training, Bush made yet another devastating decision that would change the course of his life. He borrowed a Dodge Durango from his teammate, Brandon Guyer, even though he was driving on a suspended license. What started as a typical day soon spiraled into a night of reckless chaos. Bush went on a drinking binge that led to a series of dangerous events. He first hit a pole in Sarasota, but instead of stopping, he continued driving, and soon after, sideswiped another car in Venice. Again, he fled the scene without stopping, heading back toward Port Charlotte. At some point during the night, Bush ended up at an adult dance club, but by then, he was so drunk that he was kicked out after attempting to climb onto the stage. Completely intoxicated and out of control, Bush got back into the Durango and continued driving, this time on a collision course with 72-year-old Tony Tufano. Tufano had spent the day babysitting his granddaughter and was riding his Harley-Davidson home when Bush hit him. Witnesses described the horrific scene as Bush's Durango knocked Tufano off his motorcycle and then ran over his head with the back wheel. Bush, shockingly, didn't stop. He just kept driving, later claiming that he thought he had run over the bike, not the man. Tufano was rushed to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. The fact that he was wearing a helmet likely saved his life, but he still suffered severe trauma. He broke 10 of his 12 ribs on the right side, fractured 8 vertebrae, his right lung collapsed, and he had bleeding in his brain. Tufano was a marathon runner, but now his future was uncertain. Miraculously, he survived the crash, but his life was forever changed. If he hadn't survived, Matt Bush might still be in prison today. Following the incident, Bush was arrested and faced multiple DUI-related felony charges. He was held in Charlotte County Jail on $440,000 bail. Eventually, he took a plea deal and was sentenced to 312 years in prison with no probation afterward. The Tufano family also filed a $5 million lawsuit against Bush and his teammate, Brandon Guyer, since it was Guyer's car that Bush had been driving. The case was settled out of court for $200,000. At that moment, it seemed like the story of Matt Bush's baseball career had come to an end. Once considered a rising star, he had become known as the biggest bust in the history of the MLB's first overall draft picks. His reckless actions off the field had destroyed any hope of redemption, and many believed that this would be the final chapter of his professional life. Despite the scandals, we cannot deny his skills as one of the best five-tool players. Bush attended Mission Bay High School in San Diego, California, where he quickly made a name for himself as a standout athlete. On the baseball field, he played shortstop, and his defensive skills, combined with his strong arm, made him a top prospect for Major League Baseball. At the plate, Bush was just as impressive, boasting a 450 batting average, hitting 11 home runs, and driving in 35 RBIs. But Bush wasn't only a threat with the bat, he also pitched, regularly throwing a blazing 94 mph fastball and complementing it with a sharp curveball. His pitching stats were equally remarkable, finishing his high school career with a 5-1 win-loss record, 2 saves, and an eye-popping 0.73 ERA. Many scouts considered Bush to be one of the best five-tool players ever to come out of high school, showcasing his talents in hitting, fielding, throwing, running, and even pitching. Outside of baseball, Bush was a well-rounded athlete who also played soccer and ran track. proving his athleticism extended beyond just the diamond. In the 2004 Major League Baseball draft, the San Diego Padres selected Bush as the first overall pick, choosing him as a shortstop. When he signed with the team, Bush received a substantial $3.15 million signing bonus, which at the time, the second largest bonus was ever given to a Padres draft pick. Interestingly, Bush wasn't actually the Padres' first choice. The team initially had their sights set on two top college players, Stephen Drew and Jared Weaver. However, both players were represented by Scott Barras, a well-known agent notorious for negotiating hefty signing bonuses for his clients. Padres owner John Moores wasn't willing to meet Barras's high demands, so the team decided to go with Bush instead. By selecting him, Bush became the first high school shortstop to be drafted first overall since the Seattle Mariners chose Alex Rodriguez in 1993. Though Bush wasn't the Padres' top pick, his raw talent and potential made him an exciting prospect for the organization. Bush's professional career got off to a rocky start, beginning with a suspension before he ever had the chance to step onto the field. When he finally did play, he struggled as a shortstop, hitting just 192 in 99 at-bats during his time in the rookie-level Arizona League and the short-season Northwest League. In the 2005 season, he moved up to the Fort Wayne Wizards in the Single-A Midwest League, but faced more challenges. Over the course of 453 at-bats, he managed only a 221 batting average. By 2007, things weren't improving much. As of May 28th, he had a disappointing 583 OPS, which prompted the Padres to make a significant decision: convert him to a pitcher. Bush's fastball had impressive speed, reaching up to 98 miles per hour, and he brought with him valuable experience from his days as a standout pitcher in high school. However, his time with the Padres was running out. On February 5, 2009, he was designated for assignment to make room for veteran player Cliff Floyd. Just a few days later, on February 10th, Bush was traded to the Toronto Blue Jays in exchange for a player to be named later or cash considerations, but he was sent to prison after the DUI crash. After getting released from prison, he got a job at Golden Corral. It was in the parking lot of a Golden Corral in Jacksonville, Florida, where Matt Bush held a showcase for scouts from the Texas Rangers. Despite everything that had happened in his life, his arm still had incredible power. But the big question was, would the Rangers take a chance on him after all the legal issues and setbacks? Amazingly, the answer was yes. On December 18, 2015, the Rangers signed Bush to a minor league deal. Rangers GM John Daniels spoke about the decision, saying, "Unlike some who have been accused of different crimes or had things happen in the past, Matt isn't running or hiding from this. He's been extremely accountable and very remorseful." Even Tony Tufano, the man Bush had injured in the DUI crash, offered his support, saying he was glad to see Bush getting another shot at baseball. Bush was assigned to Double-A Frisco, and this time his father went with him to help keep him focused and out of trouble. On the field, Bush impressed in his 12 appearances, striking out 18 batters over 17 innings and posting a solid 2.65 ERA. The Rangers saw enough promise in him to give him the ultimate opportunity, calling him up to the major leagues. Finally, about 12 years after being drafted first overall, Bush made his big league debut. In his first appearance, he shut down the heart of the Blue Jays lineup to close out the game, marking an incredible moment of redemption in what had been a very troubled journey to the top. However, the following years brought challenges as he struggled with injury issues, ultimately needing a second Tommy John surgery. Despite these setbacks, Bush remained focused and worked hard to keep his spot on the roster. There were times when he had to pitch in AAA, but he continued to show promise. In 2022, he had a solid season with a 2.95 ERA over 40 appearances, striking out an impressive 11 batters per 9 innings. This performance earned him a trade to the Milwaukee Brewers, where he faced some difficulties and ended the season with a 4.3 ERA. In 2023, after a tough start to the year with the Brewers, he was released and found his way back to the Rangers organization. He was assigned to the AAA Round Rock Express, where he pitched well again, posting a 2.13 ERA with 16 strikeouts and 2 saves in just 9 games. Perhaps most importantly, Bush successfully quit drinking and had any off-the-field issues since his release from prison. It was a huge step forward for him, reflecting his commitment to making positive changes in his life while still pursuing his baseball career. That is it for this one. But if you happen to like MLB Legends, make sure to check out our latest videos on our channel, Baseball Icons. I'm sure you will love it. Oh, and while you are at it, drop a comment telling us who to cover next, and don't forget to subscribe.